Ladies and gentlemen, you're rocking with a GOAT. Ken Dow giving you motivation for growth. 2 toes down, he keep it realer than most. He do it for the culture, that's always the goal. This is Strategic Moves with Ken Dow. This is Strategic Moves with Ken Dow.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You tuned in to another episode of Strategic Moves. I'm your host, Ken Dow. This is a place where we bring art, culture, politics, and business all together, and we do it every Sunday right here on this channel. But when I'm not shooting this channel, I am the president and owner of Strategic Resources. We are a political, governmental, and public relations firm right here in the city of Cleveland. I've been doing it right here for over 25 years. And this show gives me an opportunity to bring some of my friends and people I've met over the years together so that we can share some of our experience with you. And hopefully there's something that you can get from that, whether it'll help you in your personal life or your business life. So if it sounds like something you're interested in, what I need you to do is hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell as well so that you will know the next time we got one of these programs coming out. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about art and culture, and we're going to do that with a good friend of mine who I've known for several years. Our kids went to school and grew up a little bit together during that process, and he is someone who's going to come and share some of his experience with us. Is none other than Mr. Darrell Sullins. And if you don't know who he is, check out this little video we got on him.
Find out. Nope.
Hold on. Pump the brakes. That's me, Darrell Sullins Sr., being challenged by my son who thinks I can no longer break bricks. Well, who is Darrell Sullins? I'm a business owner, a husband, a father, a Papa D, motivational speaker, life coach, world-class karate champ, and a Karate Hall of Famer, which means
I have a very particular set of skills I've acquired over a very long career.
But that's not what I'm here to talk to you about. So let's rewind. I'm about to strike these bricks, but to break them, what is my focus? You may think it's hitting the top brick as hard as I can, but no. My focus is on the foundation, the bottom brick. If I send all of my focus and energy to the bottom brick, all the bricks will break. Why? Because I focus on what was important. The foundation. That's the foundation. Got it? Back to the challenge.
Oh! Tell me, boy. Oh!
Hi. Let me ask you guys a question. If you applied the same principles in your relationship, in your business, how successful would your business be? Hi, I'm Darrell Sullins Sr., co-owner of No Negation. See, oftentimes we forget the principles that got us where we are and helped us become successful in our business. Apply the same principles in your business as you do in relationship and you'll be successful. A lot of times we forget the 3 principles: character, values, and standards. If you falter in any one of those areas in your relationship, I don't have to tell you how bad that relationship will be. But if you apply those same things in your business and you forget about either one of those 3, your business will not grow.
All right. So, everybody, let's welcome Mr. Darrell Sullins to our program. Give him a big welcome. Mr. Sullins, how you doing today, sir?
I am great, and I'm glad to be here. Glad to
have you here, man. It's a good time for you. One of the things that I want you to kind of tell everybody a little bit about your background before we get started. Then I want to get going. Y'all excuse me while I fix a couple things here. But go ahead, Mr. Sullins, tell us, are you from, in my show, one of the things I like to do is I always got to figure out are you actually from Cleveland? Are your family from Cleveland? You grew up here? What's your story, man?
Man, I am born and raised in Seatown.
Oh my God. Okay.
Cleveland.
You are
Yes,
from
sir.
here. This is your hometown and all of that.
Oh man, and we moved several places in. I used to live in the Glenville area.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna give me one of them air horns. Libby. I keep telling you, I need my air horn. That's the first place.
Yeah.
Everybody who comes on my show for some reason or another end up going through Glenville, man, for some reason. How long you lived in Glenville?
I went to middle school, or back in that day, it was junior high school,
Okay.
at the old Glenville FDR.
Wow. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we moved,
Okay.
and on Woodside, and I went to Patrick Henry.
Oh, okay. You still in the hood?
And then I moved again.
Mhm.
We moved into Lee Harvard area, and I went
Okay.
to Elliott.
Oh, then you went all the way across.
Yeah. And then I went to high school at John F. Kennedy.
Okay.
Graduated in 1979.
Okay. You went to Kennedy.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you grew up on that side of town.
Yep.
Okay. With brothers and sisters?
Yep. I had 4 sisters.
4 sisters. You was the only brother.
The only son.
Really?
I was the favorite son. And people say, "You're the only son." I
Right.
said, "Then there's no argument."
Oh, was you the oldest, youngest?
I'm the second oldest.
Second oldest.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, how was that growing up over there in those days?
It was good. I didn't hang around my sisters.
No, I imagine not. Right? Huh?
Yeah, I was busy working. I was a hustler, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go out, stand at the grocery store. Can I help you carry your bags? And I
Mhm.
did it for money. Because I
Mhm.
wanted to buy stuff. So my mother and father divorced when we was young,
Okay.
and I wanted to help out. In one
So
way.
you was living with your mom.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you was the man in the house, I imagine, at that point.
I thought so.
Well, yeah, actually you were, because I guess, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So that was good. So no, I was in the same situation. I was the only male in my household.
Okay.
Lots of women, so I totally understand that. So high school was good, huh?
High school, it was good. I didn't know how good it was. And once you get back out of high school and you look back, you say, man, that was a great time. But, I kind of struggled in school.
Yeah.
I had a low self-image, self-imposed barriers. I bought into what people told me, that you wasn't good enough, fast enough, strong enough, educated enough. And I had that self-image. And if I can find this teacher today, I will hug her, Miss Gardner. And I remember it might have been in my junior year at Kennedy, she was talking about college and stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to college. This woman stopped the class, took me out of there, and spent about 15 minutes explaining to me, pouring into me, the benefits of going to college, how it would help me. And I was emphatic about it. I'm not going. But the reason I said that, because I didn't think I could manage. I didn't think I would belong there. I didn't think I was smart enough, because I bought in to what society was telling me as an African-American man, especially at that time. I bought into that. So I didn't think that I was smarter than the people around me.
So you didn't play any sports in school and none of that stuff?
Yeah, I did. I ran track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, was you pretty good at track?
I was pretty good track runner, but I ran track to get in shape for my primary sport. That's why I ran it.
Okay. And what was your primary sport?
Martial arts, karate.
Oh,
Yeah.
So how long did you do karate?
I started at the Corey Recreation Center on Drexel.
Oh, okay.
Free classes
Back
there.
in Glenville again.
Oh,
We had to
yeah.
wear my horns.
They had judo, they had taekwondo, they had kung fu. Whatever type of class they had there, I jumped into it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I grew up over there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I grew up in Glenville. That's why I keep sounding my horn, because
Yeah.
I lived in that neighborhood. I swam at Corey Recreation Center.
Yeah.
I did all the activities up at Corey. Actually, Corey
Was you there when Bodie was there? Okay, yeah.
I was there. That was our recreation center. You had the Glenville Recreation Center and the YMCA, but it was on St. Clair.
I went down to
Yeah,
Y.
and I actually lived on between Superior and St. Clair. So Corey Recreation was our recreation center, almost like, I guess it's the premier recreation center over there now, but it just don't seem to be the same, man. You go in there, even when you go in there, you don't get the same kind of energy that it used to have when we were a kid going in there. And when you go in there now, I can't imagine if the kids even get the same type of energy and feel that we would get, because like you say, when you came in there, the people you knew that was behind the desk and everything, it was just that whole feel that I think somewhat is missing. And I could be wrong, it ain't like I walk into Corey every day. But, I kind of get that impression for some reason.
I gotta go back over there for the little nostalgia to see it again. That was my foundation there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you started off in Corey.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so you started off there, and one of the reasons why, and one of the reason why I really wanted to bring you on the show, and it didn't dawn on me until I started doing some research on you, was that your relationship with Ken Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
And that was important to me, because when I read that, and I said, oh man, I forgot about your relationship. And then it made it even more important to me to have you on, and it really meant a lot for me to have this conversation with you, because Ken was one of those people I really liked. I had started me a list of what I call my favorite people. It was one day I just decided I'm going to do a list of favorite people. These are people, not just immediate family, but just people that genuinely I like because they're good people. What they do, how they do it, and they may not know it. So I started me a list, and I put him on the list. And I actually told him to. I said, you on my list of favorite people, because he was one of those guys who just never told me no.
Yeah.
Just never told me no, no matter what the circumstances was, no matter how difficult this deal was to get it done, from anything. I'm talking anything. He always did that. And so I always appreciated him. And so, yeah, he was on my list of favorite people, and I really hate to see him go. So I would like to tell us about your relationship with Ken. Let's take a few minutes to honor Mr. Ferguson.
When I get a lot of speaking events, high school, correctional facilities, church, and I speak about my journey. He's often the primary focus in that, because, like I said, my self-image, when I moved in the Lee Harvard area, they had classes up the JFK Recreation Center. And so I go up there and I'm smelling myself, because I've been in Corey Recreation Center, those classes. I get up there, and so I get in this class, and I'm saying, I'm going to jack everybody up in here. Man, that dude put something on me. He put something on me, and I was like, if he can do that to me, I want to know what he knows. But here's what was life-changing for me. After the class was over, I'm in the restroom, we're changing in there. He walks in there and he pointed at me. He said, you'll be good if you practice. Now I realized what I came from, people saying what I can't do. And he said, I could be good if I practice. First time I heard that. And so I made it my business to be there and allow him to pour into me. Now, just as you said, the things that he's done, he was about Lee Harvard, Cleveland. Oh yeah, he was about that. And many people talk about what he did for it, and often didn't charge much or charge at all. Right. And he's gave us,
because I'm pretty sure there's some festivals and people right now who still owe him money for festivals and events he done did. And they never paid him. Or what was crazy is the events were yearly. So hell, they were so much in the hole, they be starting next year. Oh, kid, he putting this stuff back out there. He's trying to get him. Can you at least pay me for? I mean, it literally used to be talking to me like, man, I at least want him to pay me for last year. And he continuously did that for folks, and I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah, and the principles that we learned from him, in business. I actually ran one of his schools. He had a school over in Euclid, and he had one on Lee Harvard, and one of his other students, my best friend, Gino McCulley, he ran that, and we learned about business. And so it's not just about karate. And oftentimes people think it's just kicking and punching, but to bring me out of my shell, to have me teaching, gave me principles and things that I never thought I'll be doing, because I didn't talk to a lot of people because of my low self-image. And like I wrote, I said, my self-image was so low, I was tripping ants, but I've learned so much from him.
So for a lot of folks who didn't know about Ken Ferguson, and people who don't know who we're talking about, give them some idea what he was. I know in your book you say he was your sensei. That's what made I said, whoa, wait a minute. And that's why I said, wait a minute. All right, this was his guy's sensei. So I mean, that's his teacher. That's his guy.
Yeah.
And I knew you, and I'm thinking about us like, well, hey, now I know Ken, and I knew Ken was a little bit older than me. And I knew where we were in our ages back then. For you to say that was like, well, Ken was really a bad dude. And we may not know really the idea, but you started talking a little bit about some of his accolades. So why don't you share with us some of the accolades that guy had got?
Oh, man, you better ask somebody now. Let me tell you about Ken. as a purple belt, which is, about 3 belts in your training. That's
Mhm.
when he was teaching us. He wasn't a black belt at the time.
Mhm.
And in 1975, he went out to the United States Karate Team trials in Long Beach, California.
Mm.
He went out there with a guy that some people may know, like Billy Blanks,
Okay.
the Taibo guy.
Oh, straight up.
Yeah. And so Ken was out
I
there.
did see pictures of him.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
right. When you said flash me back to his office, you're exactly right. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so they out there together, and Ken is winning. He's winning in the team trials as a purple belt.
Mhm.
Billy Blanks pulled him and said, "Look, man, you're a great fighter, but they're not going to let you on that team with that purple belt."
So that was who you didn't say who it was.
I didn't say who it was.
All right. Okay. All right. I got you.
And so he said, "I'm sure your instructor, Ron Shaw, won't mind for this competition."
Mhm.
So he put on a belt and he made the United States karate team in
Wow.
1975.
Wow.
And so when he did that, our mindset changed.
Mhm.
That gave us another pinnacle to reach for.
Mhm.
And so he competed on the United States karate team in Madrid, Spain, Egypt, Johannesburg, you name it. He competed, Mexico, Taiwan, from 1975 to 1992.
Wow.
Now, they wasn't putting him on the team.
Mhm.
He fought to be on the team.
Wow.
And at that time, they wanted younger guys to get on the team.
Mhm.
But he fought for that span of time on the team.
Wow.
And so what happened was he raised our level
Mhm.
in our mindset and say, hey, he did it. We can do it too.
Mhm.
He actually had 6 students to qualify for United States team trials.
Okay.
He had 3 students that made the team and 2 win a gold medal at Pan American Games, me being one of them.
Wow.
From Cleveland,
Mm.
from the same school.
Wow.
And we among, 5 of us was the first African-American to win a gold medal in the Pan American Games.
Wow.
Yeah. And he not only told us, instructed us, gave it a content, he did it. So he modeled what he wanted us to do. And it made me a better student, a better communicator. I'm telling you, the things that he did for us in the Lee Harvard area, and a lot of the kids, it's a crazy number of national, district, regionals, international champions came out of his school.
No, he was a good brother, man.
Yeah.
I really adore that dude a lot. He did even like the very first thing he did was my daughter, when she first had her very first birthday party, we was living in Glenville still, and our front yard, man, wasn't as big as this table. And I remember I called him and asked him to bring over one of these bouncy houses, and he bought over a bouncy house and put it in the middle of the yard, man. It was huge. It took up the whole front yard. But every kid on that street came and played on it and had a good time. And every birthday after that, even when we moved, because we moved out of Glenville, ended up getting a bigger yard with a bigger house. And he would bring those things out there every year for the kids, put it out there, and he would leave it. Like, Ken, I'll be back in a few days to get it.
Yep.
And just leave it out. He said, they're going to want to play with it. And, I mean, play with it. My wife usually be climbing up on it and play with that thing for days and days, and he'll come and get it and that. So he was just a genuine good dude. And I read in there some of his accolades, because you used to go in his office, you see all of that stuff, and Ken talk about it, but he'd never talk about it.
Right.
It's sort of like, you see it like, okay, why you standing next to it with these big old trophies, man? You had to do something, he'll kind of say that. And that was kind of it. But when I read it in the book here and the stuff you were saying and listening, I was like, you know what? He was a really bad dude. And I don't think people really understood the nature or the magnitude of what he's done in the community, as well as internationally, to represent the Lee Harvard area, to let people know that that's what he did. And I thought that was awesome. So let's go into how that translated to you. I was reading in the story and hearing some of the things you were talking about. You said once you got going into martial arts, it wasn't easy for you. You said you was taking some L's coming in the door, right, brother?
Man. I went to the first tournament and after practicing with him, did everything said, and I lost. So on the ride home, I'm saying, how am I going to tell my mother this?
All right.
So I go up, like I said, the steps, 5 steps that seemed like a mile. She walked in with that smile. How'd you do? I said, I lost. She said, that's okay. You're going to win. And so the next month, go to the tournament, after practicing, okay, I'm going to win this time. I lost. That ride home, man. I'm thinking She's asked me again, how did you? I lost. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Are you losing close? Or are you losing?
I'm losing.
It
And
get
then
pounded.
the third time I go in there, you know, I won a match.
Okay.
Then I lost within a minute.
Mm.
I'm like, this is crazy. I'm
Took me
going
longer
home.
to get out here.
Oh my goodness. And you know, you got to pay to compete,
Ooh.
you know?
Ooh.
So I'm going home. This time I walked in the house. She said, how'd you do? I said, I lost and I quit. I can't do this. That smile quickly left her face. She set me down at the table. She said, don't quit. You're going to win someday. And I'm going to give you the entry fee, but just don't quit. And so when she said that to me, a change, a switch within me. And I said, look, I started doing a self-evaluation. Then I realized that I'm fighting scared. And I said, I'm going to stop being afraid. And they're going to start being afraid of me. And so because I had all the techniques. I'm doing the stuff that he's telling me to do, but I was fighting afraid.
So when you say fighting afraid, what that mean? You wasn't aggressive enough?
I wasn't aggressive enough. I didn't think I could win.
Playing defense instead of offense?
Yeah, you know, and these guys, you know, I look at their belt, well, I'm just a yellow belt or a green belt. And these guys got a higher belt. You know, I can't beat them. That was my mindset.
Right.
But once that switch flipped, I said, they're going to start being afraid of me. That next tournament, I won.
Okay.
I had an 18-inch trophy. I went home. My mother thought I won, you know, the lottery. You know, she clapping and yelling in the house. I had that 18 inches trophy. I put it on the television. So when they watched the television, they was watching my trophy. Man, I came home one day from school, look at my trophy, it was gone. I said, Mom, where's my trophy? Your dad got it down at the bar bragging.
No.
You know?
And you took it down to the bar bragging about it.
Yeah,
that's good.
But that's one of the principles I talk about, and that's scripture too. You know, God didn't give us a spirit of fear,
right?
And I realized that I didn't have to know everything. I have a group of guys. We're friends today. They're my brothers in the martial arts. We all went into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame together. We traveled the world together, and we have a standard. Our group, we had the karate class, and there was another team called the Flashers, and that was the elite team within the school. And we held each other accountable. We did not let anyone compete below a standard. And if you did, you better hope that trip was short,
right?
Because you heard it. If it was like going to Atlanta, coming back, and we're driving, you got it all the way back. Right. And we use that principle in life. Can you imagine if we did that in our homes, in our schools, in our church, in the city, held each other to that standard, said, that's not what we do. We don't do that. We don't think like that. We don't talk like that. That's not how we live. What the accountability thing, and how much better can we be? And so that's the principle that I learned through the martial arts. See, the martial arts and karate is a conduit. It wasn't the end all be all.
Correct.
It was a conduit. The principles that transcends, whether it's martial arts, whether it's in business, whether it's education, whatever, it transcends. And that helped me tremendously.
It's a good discipline.
Helped me to learn how to be a father, a son, and a husband.
So let me ask you then, how did, in that role, I heard you say you got you a gold medal. How, tell me how you ended up doing that. That seems like that was a big achievement there.
Oh my goodness, man. It was a lot of competition. There was a lot of competition. Like my posse, I call them Gino McCulley, Kevin Hurd, Melvin Brown, Keith Collins. We fought each other. Now these brothers are exceptional martial artists. And I actually, and I used to do this routine where I go off to myself right before I compete. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't talk to nobody. And I was getting in my zone, and they used to laugh and joke at me because I wouldn't even talk to them because my self-image was so low. If I know this person was #1 in this state or he's national champ, that stuff would start feeding into my psyche, and I would start competing like I did in the beginning. And so you had to go through districts, regionals, nationals, and then the team trials.
Wow.
And it's double elimination. I remember vividly in the regionals, this other guy from the state of Ohio, we competing, and he's an awkward guy, and he beat me. And I didn't understand. I'm like, how did this dude beat me? You know, so they take the top 2 that moves on. So he beat me at the regionals. Then we go to the nationals. And then in the nationals, he beat me. And what happens when you lose, you go in what they call the loser's pool. You had to fight your way out of that. And then you come back to fight again. Well, each tournament from the regionals to the national, that happened. And I couldn't understand why this dude was beating me. And so we both qualified for the U.S. team trials, Glen Rock, New Jersey. We go there and we competing, and I'm on my game. This dude beat me at the team trials. So here I'm sitting in the
can't
loser
seem
pit.
to get this.
I can't get the dude. and here's what's important. There's something they call edification.
Okay.
Like I'm here with you, right? And so if I said I'm gonna bring Ken Dow, #1 man in the city, got the #1 podcast, Strategic Move. I want you guys to hear what he got to say. I'm promoting you to my people. You come there and you start talking. And so they're interested because I promoted you. I edified you.
Okay.
But see, a lot of martial artists don't realize this. And if they did, their schools and it will be a lot better. Once I edify you, you turn back the edification to me. Because if my son's there and he has a podcast and he said, Dad, how does he do this? What does he do? How many cameras do we have? And I may know the answer, but I don't answer. Why? Because you're the expert and I promoted you. I edified you.
Gotcha.
So I'll bring him up to you. And I'll say, Ken, D has a question for you. And he asks you the question. You answer him. Then he said, look, listen to your dad. He know what he's doing. You return the edification. Now he said the expert said, my dad know what he's doing. So he's now going to listen.
Right.
If you do that in business, if you do that anytime you speak, that makes a change. And what Ken did for me in that tournament at the U.S. team trials, this guy kept beating me. And Ken said, he asked the coach when he made it in 1975, Noel Smith, he said, what do you think going on with that? He said, tell him to come over here. So I went over there and Noel Smith said this, you got those long legs. Use them. Use your legs, set up the punch. I went back, ain't got nothing to lose. I did it, and I beat the dude.
Wow.
So now he has one loss, and I have one loss. Fight again, I beat him. I won the gold at the U.S. team trial.
Wow.
Why? Because he humbled himself, allowed somebody else to pour into me, you know? And so, and he was able to return the edification.
Okay.
And that's a principle that I use. Anytime I speak, I go and I edify a person. Even if I don't know them that well, if they got an association, I say, listen to them. He's involved with the association. The association is helping people.
Gotcha.
You understand that?
Gotcha.
Listen to the mayor. He's here. He knows what to do. You know, and the mayor turns back the edification. That's a process that get people bought in, you know, because otherwise, you know, I'm just dad.
Right. So let me ask you a question, because you say a lot of interesting things, and we getting there. Yeah, you were also in the military.
Yes, sir.
U.S. Marine?
United States Marine Corps.
So how long were you in the Marines?
4 years active and 2 years inactive.
Okay. So how was that? Did you do any active duty, like saw any time or anything like that, like war or anything?
Oh, I was in my first duty station was Okinawan, Japan.
Okay.
I chose that because I was in the karate. And so, because the style of karate I was in
hey, no better
came
place
from
to
Okinawa,
be.
right?
Hey, no better place to be for a karate guy.
So I went to Okinawa karate, and there's a funny story about that. I get to the base, and then when you get there, it's humid. I mean, the door opened on the plane, 17-hour flight, the humidity just hit you. They don't let you do anything for 30 days. So I get there, and while I'm on the island, I found out the Marine Corps have a karate team.
Wow.
So I was like, man, I got to find out about this. So I found out the sergeant who was the coach. So I found out where he was stationed, and I went over there.
Now, did you have your medals before?
Yes, I did.
Oh, so you going in with medals and everything?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And here's a principle that I talk about when I'm talking about diversity and racism. I go there, find out who he is. I said, how you doing? I'm Darrell Sullins. I'm a Lance Corporal, just got on the island. I hear there's a karate team. Is there tryouts? Is there workouts? How do I become a part of the team? This dude looked me up and down. He said, we got all we need. And I said, yeah, but you don't understand. And he pulled rank. He said, Lance Corporal, we got all we need. I was like, okay. So I go back. 2 months later, it happens. Posted all around the base. Island-wide karate championship. you had fighters coming from Guam, Philippines, all over to compete at this tournament. At that time, it was the most prestigious tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I entered the tournament. So I entered the tournament. I'm on the side. I had my gi on. I had my USA warm up on, and I'm loosening up and doing my thing. Guy walks by and he said, "You were on US team?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I want you to meet somebody." So he introduced me to the tournament director, and he said, "You was on the US team?" I said, "Yeah." "How'd you do?" "I want to go." He said, "Great." Next thing you know, I hear on the mic, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got a special treat for a young man just got on the island. He was on the United States karate team and he won a gold medal. Darrell Sullins." And they clapping and stuff, and they haven't seen me do anything.
Right.
And so reporters are interviewing me, people are talking to me. And one guy, he realized, he said, "Man, this dude, we ain't see him do anything." He said, "Do me a favor." I said, "What?" He said, "Please win." You know? So I got the tournament, man, and I worked them. I'm doing techniques they'd never seen before. I won the heavyweight division. I won the grand champion, and I got the outstanding technique award from that tournament. But here's what's special. At the awards table, it was Mr. We Got All We Need.
Got you.
That sergeant there. And so when I got there, he was like pretty good. You know, so I got my awards, and miraculously a spot opened up for me on the team.
Well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so that's what I said, don't allow anybody else. Limitation becomes your reality.
Correct.
And, and so I always teach that principle that no matter what people think of you, no matter what limitations or barrier they put in front of you, strong beliefs triggers the mind to find a way to succeed. See, I don't care if my kids or people that I'm close to, the guys I mentor, I don't care if they aim high and miss. My problem is if they aim low and hit it.
Okay.
So we have to have that mindset.
Right.
And I learned that from Ken.
No, so when you got out from the military, you came home and you got back and you came back to Cleveland, I imagine, and you got started and went to the gas company right away, and you East Ohio Gas at that point and was working there. And what I'm trying to get to, I guess, is that, hey, we're going to hear more from Darrell Sullins, but right now what I need you to do is hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. If there's something you think we could be doing better, let us know. And if there's somebody you think we ought to have on the program, let us know. See, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment below. Now, let's get back to Darrell Sullins. Where did your spirituality come in? Where was the moment? I hear the Kung Fu. You told me you were in school, so you had some troubles in school. You probably wasn't the worst kid in the neighborhood, but you wasn't the best kid in the neighborhood neither. You was doing karate, which kind of kept you out of trouble, it sounds like, for that most part. Or where did you get into the spiritual thing? Where did that take place? Your spiritual enlightenment.
Yeah.
Where did that happen?
Yeah, because I'm an elder at my church, at Providence Baptist Church. Rodney Maiden is the pastor.
Yes, right.
And when I was coming back from Japan, while I was in Japan, I remember a sergeant came up to me. He said, "Are you a Christian?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, what makes you a Christian?" My bottom lip started going, I believe in God.
All right.
He was like, the devil believe in God, and I didn't have an answer. Coming back, we flew in LAX airport in California. This old guy had a Bible in his hand, screaming, "Jesus coming back. Get your life together. Save, accept the word of God and accept Jesus," and I was like, that dude crazy. Then one day I was reading the Bible several years later that I took out of a hotel. I'm reading it, 1 Corinthians chapter 11. It says, Jesus took bread, broke it, and gave thanks. And I said, wait a minute. I knew enough about Jesus that I knew he was God. I said, why did he have to give thanks? So intrigued me, and I started reading more. Then I asked myself, if Jesus gave thanks, who am I not to be thankful? So at that time, I got in the word, but then the word got into me. And it told me what I should be as a man, what I should be as a husband, what I should be as a father, what I should be as a citizen. And that intrigued me, and I started studying the hunger for the word.
So let me ask you a question. What is it, in your words, to be a man in today's world? Right. So what is it to be a man? I'm not going to ask the question the other way, because that's so many crazy descriptions on what is a woman, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just skip that. Okay, what in your definition? What's a man? What dictates? What is a man? What makes up a man?
I believe that you have your vertical alignment in place. You know, God, family. You know, have that in place. Understand that I'm here with a purpose, to mentor, to be an example, to praise God, and bring other guys along with me. I believe in what God says, and I stand on that. What he dislikes, I dislike. What he likes, I like. And to be an example, because remember, he created man first, then he took from the man and created woman, and they became one. And so I understand that as a man and as a husband, I'm one with my wife. I don't rule over her. And a lot of people say, go to the verse in the Bible, say the woman is supposed to submit to the man in Galatians chapter 5, verse 22. But in verse 21, it says submit one to another, you know. And so my wife brings to the table things that I can't as a woman. And I understand that. I don't always get it right, but I understand that I can't have an ego, because the ego is the anesthesia that deadens the pain of stupidity. Okay. You know? Okay. And so I understand that my wife is one. And so as a man, I must be able to humble myself. I must be able to submit to my wife all the time. And I have to learn my wife's language. Her language is details, you know, details. She wants details. I don't need that. And I struggle with this sometimes, because like I'm here, she's going to ask, well, who was there? How many cameras they had? How many microphones did they have? I don't need to know that stuff. But to satisfy her, I must speak her language. A man knows that he must satisfy his wife.
You know, that's interesting. You had that. I was having a conversation with a young lady who works with me on my way in here. And she was telling me that her boyfriend, or now her husband, always say that, you know, you just be not dream killing me, but always holding me back on the stuff I want to do and this and that. And she said, he's just want to just, I said, because I think men, we look at stuff differently in the fact that we see how we want to do it and how we want to solve a problem. Women, you want to look at how to do it, how to write it down, all the stuff that we know we're going to need, but we ain't writing all that stuff down because we're too busy building. You know, we got hammers, we got screws, we got this thing in our head that we know we need a hammer, we know we need some metal, we know we need some screws, and when we finish, it's going to be this nice box. But before you want us to write the box, you want us to draw the box, you want us to make sure, and that's fine. It might, your way might be the best way, but we just interpret things differently like that. And I said, don't worry. I said, every couple goes through that. You know, she's a young couple. And I said, that's most guys. I said, he's going to be that way. I said, so we just keep it moving.
We're trying to conquer.
Yeah. And we ain't got time for detail.
Yeah, that's it. And my wife needs that. She wants to talk about it. Right. I'm listening. I want to analyze it. I'm trying to figure it out. And I was like, hold on, honey, you on page 32. I'm on page 25. Just hold up. I'll catch up with you. Right. You know, and that's what I want to do. I want to analyze and stuff. And I think, because I'm a visual learner. That helped me, eventually helped me in school, learning my style of learning is visualizing it, you know, and I'm even doing math, you know, calculating the numbers, but I'm also visualizing it. And so as a man, I have to understand that I have to allow her to use her gifts. You know, I don't have to know it all. I don't have to fix it every time she says something to me. Sometimes she just needs me to listen. And a man should be able to humble himself to understand that and allow her to be her.
You know, but that's sometimes could be very difficult for most men, because most men is always fix it. So that's probably why it's so much issues with that. We're gonna go a little bit off, then we'll get back in. Okay. I've been on this thing with a lot of guests, and we've been talking African-American males and therapy and reaching out and getting therapy and that kind of stuff. And they said that, you know, African-American males don't like therapy. And then they got into like the older guys like ourselves and saying, you know, some of you guys don't believe in therapy and this and that. And I told them, I can't speak for all African-American males, but I can speak from my experience, and I want to run it by you. But I believe that most of the African-American males who may need therapy or didn't go seeking therapy was because it seemed like we were always in a position of, back to what we were saying, trying to fix the problem. So if you have a problem, you don't really have that long to dwell on it to the point that I need to go talk about it. I really need to try to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that if I'm having a problem, and it's just all I can speak on myself, if I lost a job or something, and I know why I lost the job, because I couldn't get my butt up to go to work and do what I needed to do. I didn't have the luxury of spending the time to sit back and dwell on what it is. Why am I just not this? It was like, man, you lost your job. The bills are still coming. You got to get up this time and get this job and go to work. So it seemed like you always were, in my case, it was fixing the next issue to try to get to the next point. So maybe that could be why I'm harboring so many bad issues as I'm getting older, as everybody's saying. Why I'm so mean and everything, as my kids and others might say. But that's kind of where I think. What's your thoughts?
See, we hung up on the word therapy.
Okay.
Think about it. You go through something, you call up your boy, hey man, I just lost my job. He's like, really?
Right.
And you talking it out.
Right.
What do you go to a therapist, what do?
Right.
You're talking it out.
Mm-hmm.
See, we hung up on a word.
Right.
We got to realize there's many ways of receiving that therapy.
And we do it differently.
Yes.
Because just like what you said, where women may say, oh, girl, come on over. Let's spend some time to get their wine. Whatever y'all going to do and sit back, cry about and talk about.
Right.
Brothers may be like, straight up, what you going to do?
Right.
I got to go find another job. You know somebody hiring? Yeah, man, you better go see so-and-so. Yeah. Because, again, you better fix this situation that you got in front of you to go there. Now, there's some guys who, as I say, who fall through it where they can't get it fixed.
Yeah, it reminds me of a story of a guy sitting on his porch and he's in the rocking chair, just rocking. And he had his dog laying next to him. And the dog was going, and his neighbor was like, what's wrong with your dog? He said, he's laying on the nail. He said, why don't you get off? He said, it ain't hurting him bad enough. A lot of times we do that. We'll complain about stuff, think we're doing something. You know, we got to get off the nail. It's not about just feeling the pain. It's about doing something about it and then bringing somebody else along. And once we go through it, you know, we mentor us. Hey, I know where you are. I've been there.
Is that what inspired you guys to, I'm going to stay on this book before I get into your podcast. So with that, you know, you talk about this book that you guys, and you're in a book. And what's the name of the book, Tim? The
book is called The Elite Martial Artists in America.
And the reason why I wanted to bring up the book right here at this portion of getting off the nail and surrounding ourselves around good people, that book is a book of martial artists from all around the world. And in the book, it talked about their experiences through various different parts of life. And your portion of the book, you talked about leadership, correct?
Yeah, exemplary leadership.
And tell me about some of the other stuff that's in the book before we get into yours. Matter of fact, we'll do this. Tell me some of your favorite parts of the book.
My chapter or in the book period?
In the book period.
Okay. There's
we don't always talk about yours.
Yeah.
In the book period.
And I'm going through the book because it's 26 martial artists that it's a compilation book that wrote either in 3 sections, Secret of Life, Business, or Leadership. And one portion in the book in Secret of Life, there's this lady in California. She's a martial artist, but she used martial arts to help special needs, people with special needs.
Okay.
And that intrigued me because my daughter has a cognitive learning disability.
Okay.
She's not into karate, but we were told that she'll never play, run, or learn like the other kids. But we didn't buy into that. And so, you know, and while she was in high school, she ran track because I coached track for a number of years. She ran track and she was the MVP of the track team.
Wow.
You see, and so her chapter in there really touched me, and I never thought about using the martial arts all my years in the martial arts and using it for special needs. She's doing that. That's why I said the book is like a workbook. Should be not just read just for the information, but a workbook. When you read a chapter or you get a perspective out of it, use that as a teaching point.
Okay.
The guy who owns Elite publications is Grand Master Jesse Boynes. And Grand Master, you know, there's 10 degrees. He's at the top of the mountain, and he owned the school for so many years, and now he's focusing on the publishing and helping other people get their thoughts on the paper. It's a great organization because I didn't know anything about writing. Because matter of fact, when he saw my content and contacted me, I was like, I ain't a writer. And he said, that's why you have us. See, I thought I needed to know everything.
That's correct.
Do all things. And see, when you don't know what to do, you do nothing.
How was it writing that book? Was it difficult?
You know what? That fear that I talked about came up again, but I stand on that. God didn't give me the spirit of fear. The difference this time, I have the team of people around me that I can go to. Elite Publications and Jessica and Natalie and Grand Master Bowens. They're wonderful people, and they look for people to get their story on paper. They guided me along every step of the way, and I was able to do it.
So let's talk about your portion of the book, leadership portion. So what was it, your inspiration and got you to write about the stuff that you wrote about? And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you wrote about?
Okay, my chapter is exemplary leadership, 5 leadership traits, 5 leadership principles, the things that I had to overcome: courage, loyalty, integrity, modeling. And a piece that I called in the kids that ran for me at Chanel High School in Twinsburg and St. Ed's, they know when I say heart check, when you breaking through that wall of pain, when you breaking through that wall of difficulty, when you hearing that small, still voice in your mind saying, quit, you can't do this. That's when you have a heart check. I write about that in there.
Let's talk about a little bit of these. Let's talk about loyalty. What was your, when you talked about loyalty, what did you talk about, Ezra? What's your view on loyalty?
Well, let me say this in the beginning. Loyalty, I'm not talking about blind loyalty.
Okay.
Following somebody that's doing something unethical. No, it's just knowing where the person is, what they're doing, and making sure that you do it, and giving other people credit when it's credit is due. You don't have a lot of that today. It's about me. Everybody's thinking about me, what I done. Although they have a team, they taking credit. See, I don't have to have the credit, and so when you high on loyalty, people jump through hoops. They'll jump through mountains for you.
That's correct.
When they know you're loyal, because they can trust you.
That's interesting. What about integrity?
Integrity. Let me ask you this. If you driving down the street, okay, in a car, and the person in front of you, they turn the left turn signal on, but they turn right. It ticks you off. You can't trust that person. Right?
Right.
That's what I'm talking about with that. Being able to trust a person. They say what they're gonna say, they mean what they say, and you can always count on them.
And what is tact? Is that what that is?
What you say and how you say it.
Yeah, a lot of us ain't got no tact.
But that makes a difference. That makes a difference because people are apprehensive about sharing their ideas. You got a team of people. And if you're just going to blast them, you come out with a bazooka on them, they'll be apprehensive and won't share. It might be a great idea that not only help them, but help you. And that's what you want. You want a team of people that's not afraid, good, bad, and indifferent. So what you say and how you say it makes a difference. And I had to learn that in my marriage.
Yeah, that's a perfect place to put that for sure. And what are the leadership principles?
Oh, man. Modeling. Ken Ferguson, what he did for us, he modeled for us.
Okay.
He modeled those things. And that's the biggest one. That's the most one that comes to mind, because he did it. And so he's not saying, hey, you need to do this. You need to do that. You didn't do it.
Right.
And then a heart check, like I said, there's come a point in time that you have to say, look, I got to do that self-evaluation. I had to do that. And that's why when the cycle repeated itself, started coming around to my son, when he was told that he shouldn't go to a 4-year university, he should go to a 2, he wouldn't make it there. That brought back to mind what I was told.
Right.
But he said, I didn't buy into that because I saw you. He said, I saw what you and mom did, Dad. So I didn't buy into that. See, I didn't have that. And so heart check is something important that the athletes that I coach, the people that I deal with, look, dude, take a self-evaluation.
Right.
If a man puts his pants on one leg at a time, I can put mine on. I can get them on. If he overcame difficulties, whether it's substance abuse, whether it's marriage problems, or if somebody else did it, it can be done. I can do it. When you think about the guy who broke the 4-minute mile barrier, before they were saying, hey, you run below 4 minutes, your heart gonna explode. Robert Bannister did it.
Wow.
And after he did it, you got high schoolers that's doing it now.
Right.
Self-imposed limitation. Take that heart check.
Interesting. Also, so I want to go and talk a little bit as we close around in this third. Let's talk about your podcast with your son. No negations. Let me get it right, because I was saying it wrong. I was telling him I was calling his podcast No Negotiations. And then it was like, oh, wait a minute. I looked at it, like, that ain't negotiations. That's negations. So what's the title? What's that all about, man? Tell us about your podcast.
Well, my son went to University of Mount Union.
Oh, okay.
And he played football there. And if you know anything about Division III football, they're a powerhouse. 13 times national champions.
Oh, yeah.
He got a national championship ring.
Okay. That's beautiful.
Yeah, he was pulled to varsity his freshman year there.
Beautiful.
And so, but when he went there, Mount Union, I don't know if you know Tony Fox, who he was a coach at Glenville football team. He passed away a couple of years ago. And Ted Ginn, they all poured in my son. And so he went to Mount Union. It's like a Division I school there.
Yeah.
Over 200 people in camp. And he called me home. He said, Dad, I ain't never seen nothing like this in my life, man. He said, this is difficult. I said, try the Marine Corps. So
right.
And so he got there and he started regressing in his mindset and plan. They were yelling at him and he was making mistakes and all that. And he flipped his room. He was mad and he realized that he's playing out of fear, just like me.
Right.
And so he majored in exercise science. And so he was doing an internship at a training facility. And he had a client who wanted to lose weight.
Okay.
But she came in crying because her husband said she couldn't do it. Her family wasn't supporting her. And he wanted something that not only motivated him, but his clients. So he's sitting in math class and they're doing the math and he saw this little squiggly line called a negation. It means negative. So he was thinking negative. He put no in front of it. So no negations, no negative, no doubt, no fear. And so what he did, he went back to his room. He got some press on. He took an X-Acto knife and cut out the NO in that line. And he pressed it on a t-shirt. And people were like, what's that? And he told them. And so they bought the shirt. He took money back and he bought more. He kept doing it. So he created a business out of it. And he called me. He said, Dad, I got this t-shirt business. And he explained to me what it was. And I'm looking at him and said, D, that ain't a t-shirt business. That's a motivational business. And so he asked me to come on. And so we were doing that. We were speaking. We go to Soup for the Soul, Fox 8 Soup for the Soul. We have a booth there and our apparel there. We went to correctional facilities. We went to schools, and we're talking about that, getting beyond self-imposed barriers or any barriers that put people on that you can always achieve, never give up. And so the pandemic hit. So we're not going out speaking and stuff. And so he said, well, let's do a podcast. I didn't know.
Right.
And so we started doing it. And then we got into it. And my daughter-in-law said, you know what? This is really God's purpose. And so we turned it. It made a shift into connecting real life situations to the word of God. We take, situations that's happened and we say what God says about it. And we research and we talk about it on the podcast. And it's very organic because you get what you get, and based on my knowledge and based on their knowledge and experience where they come from, it works. My son and my daughter-in-law gives me a chance to minister to them and they help me with the technology stuff.
Exactly.
And so we found out a little over a year ago that we got listeners from several countries, Ghana, Africa, Germany, Japan, Malaysia, and stuff. We had no idea, that it would turn out like that.
Were you on the web? It was funny because when I first started doing my podcast, I was doing my thing and I was doing some advertising and pushing my stuff out there online. And this guy was talking to, he looked at my stuff. He said, well, why are you only advertising in Cleveland and Ohio? I'm like, because that's where I'm from. He's like, man, this is the World Wide Web. What is wrong with you, man? This is the World Wide Web. Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah,
he's
that's
like,
what I'm talking about.
Cleveland, Ohio? And I said, okay, all right. And I did that. And that's when we went and got all the, now we almost got 4,000 subscribers. Almost 5,000 subscribers. And pushing it that way because, like you say, you expand your mind to go bigger. Yeah. That's good, man. I've been checking out your podcast. I was checking it out for some years before I did mine. I've been watching you guys doing what you've been doing and that kind of thing. And I think you guys have some really good conversations.
Okay.
And how can somebody get to your podcast? How can they find you?
They can find us on any streaming platform or on our website, www.nonegations.com.
And you on YouTube as well.
We're on YouTube as well. My son had the cameras and stuff, and he put segments on there. Yeah, it's great, man.
So I'm going to close with this, and I'm going to let you do your closing for us. But you also is coaching now. You saying now you actually coaching, and you got on your Coach Sullins shirt on jacket today. And before I let you go, I can't let you go for us Kung Fu folks. See, I was one of these karate guys who grew up in the era of when Bruce Lee and everybody. So remember
the Scrumpty Dump movie theater.
Scrumped Dump or the Hippodrome downtown. You be in the movie theater, everybody doing karate while the movie going on. And what was the brother name?
Jim Kelly.
Enter the Dragon, all that came out. So right there, everybody was doing karate. Used to go on 4th Street and go to the Asian store.
And
go in there and buy all the karate stuff and the stars, all that stuff.
Yellow suit, black going down there.
So again, what's the style, man? Kung Fu karate.
It's Isshinryu karate, the style that I trained in. Although I trained in other styles, but that's my primary style that I trained with Ken Ferguson. Yeah, it's a Japanese style.
And when you compete, is that full contact? These questions I should have asked you in the beginning, but I'm always come up with these towards the end when I'm thinking before. Wait a minute, I meant to ask you. Are these full contact competitions? This is not MMA.
Back in my day, no, it's not. They didn't have that back in the day. Back in when I was starting, they were still bare knuckle.
Okay.
They were bare knuckle days, and they came with the safety punches and the safety kicks. You put on your feet. Now they wear helmets and stuff. It has changed some, and depending on the tournament. And so what I do, I coach individuals after watching the last Olympics, and karate debuted in there. They always had Taekwondo, the Korean style, in there.
Okay.
But the traditional karate was first debuted in the last Olympics, and the United States didn't fare well.
Really?
And United States has some of the most elite fighters they are. And so I made a call and I said, what's going on? And the guy said, one, you ain't coaching, and so I had to do that heart check. And I said, yeah, there's several people out there who have schools, but they haven't competed internationally. So after doing some research and stuff, I decided to get off the nail.
Okay.
And so what I do now, I do seminars and workshops on how to compete internationally for Olympic style fighting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you training too, or you just?
Yeah, not like I did when I was competing, but to get out there, I still move around.
I know. I'm like, you training people though? Like you bringing on students? And
I go to other schools.
Okay.
And I train.
Oh, you train at the workshop.
Right.
You're doing the workshop. Now I get you.
Right.
I get you.
And so I've been asked to do my school again, because several years ago I was teaching. I had about 40 some students that I was teaching.
Okay.
And I was doing it at my house too.
Really?
Yeah. My wife's like, we got one bathroom in
there,
there, and all these kids in there
running in and out here.
But it started off as a favor. They said, please teach my daughter. I was like, all right. And then somebody hear about it. You teaching them, then won't you teach my kid? Ended up 40 kids twice a week.
Wow.
And so now I'm doing it. I'm out there preparing people for either physical fitness, self-defense, or style competition.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent, man. You doing it up, man. Like I say, man, you're an interesting guy. Only interesting people make the show, and you made the cut, brother.
Man, I would say it. Thank you, man, for allowing me to come on. I mean, strategic move, man. I'm gonna hit the big time, man.
No, brother, you good, man. You were doing it before me, so trust me.
But I see the people that come on here, man. You doing it, and that's what I'm talking about, Ken. Getting off the nail. You see some issues out there. You started a podcast. You're bringing these people on. You're having dialogue about it, and then when you have that dialogue, people are doing it.
That's correct.
So I appreciate what you're doing, man.
Oh, thank you again, brother. Thanks for coming on the show. And like always, what we do, man, we're going to close our program out. We give you that camera right there. You get a chance to say to my millions and millions of viewers all over the world that's watching us today, you get to talk to them. Tell them a little bit about what you want to let them know. If there's a website and information where they can get, please let them know. We always put that information in the description that you can find information about what Mr. Sullins is doing, as well as information about his podcast and his website. But also tell people that, and anything you want to leave inspiration or whatever, is camera belongs to you, my friend.
All right.
Hey, what I want to tell you is have meaning, have a purpose of what you're doing. If your why big enough, the facts don't count. I'm doing what I'm doing now because my daughter have a cognitive learning disability. We're trying to find a safe place for work, and people can take advantage of her because she doesn't understand stranger danger. So I figure if I build a business and she can come work for me, we have a safe haven for her, and she can get vocational needs. So what I tell you is find your why, make it big enough that's going to get you to move. You can find out more about me speaking, training from www.sullnetimpact.com, or No Negations, Facebook, Instagram. You can look me up on YouTube. If you want me to come out and speak to a group or corporate, I'm available for that. I thank you, and definitely tune in to listen more to this podcast here, the Strategic Move with Ken Dow. Great brother and family.
Oh, thank you again. Hey, thanks for coming on our show, and we'll see you next week.
This is Strategic Moves with Ken Dow.